그래서 되니 정말 쇼바들이 인공들이 공모들이.
So I want to wish everyone good morning and good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be.
되니 정말 다시들이 슈기스.
And to everyone, I wish you all Tashi Delay.
네, 가진 것만 표지 다 된다 이 숨지니 이 최대의 종마송 공다 슈기스 된다 이 숨지 채서.
So last 2 or 3 weeks, we missed the teaching. I was not able to give the teaching as normally, so I want to apologize for that.
김sen디 내가 지가 여제더니 두수디 가가래도 두수 등고민도 되는 김sen 당보디 김sen 이바디네 나랑 또스 나송 디니 깽기 재미되네 디트윈디 채송 공다 슈기스.
So first of all, what happened is that I was abroad, and the time zone was very difficult. Time difference was a lot more difficult. And then on the other hand, I was also sick. So for these two reasons, I wasn't able to continue.
되네 다 당보 주 케남바 마생기 공라 네 마케나마 양교 양결 전수지기 디 전수의 가르에서나 되는지 삼바 장주초 샘기에 계층보레스 당보 주지 다주 퇴섬 검증 가래 제나요 아니 삼바 장주초 라버 단다디 갑스바바데니 최디 대과정도 주인도 네 삼바 심지 탐지 산지 고바特别 제도 되니 주인기 삼기니 공기니 선생 그런 주로지스.
So again, before we begin, I just would like to remind everyone that to set the proper motivation, and whatever we're doing related to the Dharma, whether we're listening to teaching, studying, or practicing, we always need to have the proper motivation, set the proper motivation at the outset. And especially now that we are learning a Mahayana text, studying and practicing a Mahayana text, we're Mahayana practitioners. So we need to set the motivation of bodhicitta that we are studying this text and practicing this text for the sake of all the sentient beings, every sentient being out there. So please set this pure motivation of bodhicitta.
네. 삼바 장주쇼도 투게 동원도 손에 다들인 셈버자위기 추디 되니 야신 무주 통미게 제비 야슬랑네 소드마데스.
So the text that we are studying with this proper motivation, with the motivation of bodhicitta, the text we are studying is the 37 Bodhisattva practices by Gyaltse Ngultru Tokme.
네. 다디 슝 데라 되니 통마르게와 레기트는 바르게와 슝기든 통마르게와 주기든 there's a number of sumdus.
So in this text, there are 3 main sections. The virtuous the virtue which pertains to the introduction, the virtue in the beginning which pertains to the introduction, and the virtue of the middle part which pertains to the text itself, and the virtue of the ending which pertains to the conclusion of the text.
니 정말 개와 송심바래 되니 바르드 개와 슝기 되 코랑라더니 셈기 규당 셈기 응원셰바당 되니 숨바 셈기 랍자 제가 숨두스.
So I have already finished explaining the virtue of the beginning, which is related to the introduction of the text. And so now we're on the second part, which is the virtue of the middle, which pertains to the main part of the text itself. And within that main part of the text, we have the three main sections. The first is the cause of bodhicitta, and the second is the teaching on the bodhicitta itself, and the third is the section on the trainings in bodhicitta.
대딩이 뒤뒤신이 domni 슈바인스 대숨게 나미 네 당본이 셈기기 규당 셈기기 셈기 셰바니 송산에 다른 값바바데 숨바 셈기기 랍자 셰바딜라 딜라니두스라 랍제기 또 파르진 룩셰바다 디귤라 텐수 셰바스 니두스
니바
숨바 셈기기 랍자도와 이 단다 값바바 디레 딜라데니 니두스 예와 니 랍제기 또 파르진 룩셰바 니 디귤라 텐수 셰바 디 파르진 룩 데가 디 귤라 텐수 셰바 냠네 치투 셰바
Gyula tensu. So this is just like a summary of those of the contents of the main part of the text itself. It has these three sections. And so I have finished explaining the first two of these three sections of the main part of the text. And now we are on the third section, which is the section on the trainings related to bodhicitta. And within that section of the trainings related to bodhicitta, there are two subsections. One is on the trainings of the six paramitas, or the six perfections, or the six perfections. And the second subsection here is the how to apply those six paramitas to one's own mind.
The drink of Baba de Labjito Parjin Trusheba de Nane, Tene, Jimba, Sudim Ni, Songsabara, drink of Baba de Juba, not to be rest.
So now in this section, we are now in the first of those two sections, the teaching on the six paramitas themselves. And I have finished explaining the first two of these, which are generosity and discipline. And now we have arrived at the explanation on patience.
Everybody around the lovely so doing the non the drink up the chubding around the shaloka chubding the rest.
So among the 37 among the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva that are taught here, or the 37 verses, now we have arrived at the 27th.
Supa, voilà. Que supa la panis gevi longju de bigase la nuje tam jirinjin ter pang kun. Decher kun la shete me ba yi supa kon ba jase la ni sustawa.
The verse here reads the practice of all the Bodhisattvas is to cultivate patience, free from any trace of animosity towards anyone at all. Since any potential source of harm is like a priceless treasure to the Bodhisattva who is eager to enjoy a wealth of virtue.
Tadi supa se tanda kap supa wa piji ngarang chu chigin chibo mayimba. Ne tanda ngarang zu jigdin kimbigi nanglaya peka nga chimbo duks. Tadi supa gomede, gom tubede. Tidang supa gomede kali chimbo res, pe kali chimbo inaya kasi supa gom tuba ina. Tani dile peyin cheba chigi yoma res, peyin chimbo res supa gom tuna. Di indu di jigdengi ngarazu kimba yorala le bibo koranzu nanglo le na jidang sopa de pe ngarazu neta yondu kanga chimboji pe topic subject chimboji redus.
So when we think about this practice of patience, of course it is a important practice, an important topic for Dharma practitioners. But at the same time, it is also something difficult to practice for Dharma practitioners. And not only for Dharma practitioners, but it's also a kind of difficult practice and something really important as well for lay people. So not only is patience something that we have to work on as Dharma practitioners, but it's also a difficult thing that lay people have to work on. But then if we are able to practice patience well, then the benefits of being able to train in this practice and practice as well are really extremely great. There's so much benefit to the practice. And again, it's something that is a kind of big topic or important topic for lay people as well as Dharma practitioners.
Itu yasi shiwala kitini suba tabo katu mes shedang tabo digba mes re kidang shedang di digba chenpo yinsa re shedang chenpo songtana di indu zani yasi shiwala kanso sana suba tabo katu mes ta chu cheba chu chigenji na ta suba gom tubgin kansa ji na ta kongone katu chenpo ji chi tubgin kansa chabe re di indu shedang tabo suba tabo katu mes tani shedang tabo digba mes ta digba nangni digba chisho tabo di shedang chade di indu zani shedang pena dowa rik chukdi nangni kiye gi nyawa kiye gyu zo de khande sena sa gyu ra zo khande shedang na nyumomba chuk ra to cha shena tibo nga ja thado sena se jora chugi nangni nyawa gyu zo di shedang di indu shedang tabo digba mes shedang chenpo ji sona ini nyawa kiye gi gyu chade ra di indu shedang tabo digba mes ne di tires.
So the Shantideva, he said that there's no evil or no negative action that is equal to anger. And also that there's no austerity, a spiritual austerity, kind of a spiritual practice, which is a hardship or austerity. There's no spiritual austerity equal to patience. So if somebody can practice patience properly and really well, then this person will be somebody who is really able to practice the Dharma and practice this real kind of austerity and a difficult Dharma practice, which is like a hardship, something very difficult to do. And on the other hand, there's no evil like anger. So if you think about the 6 main afflictive emotions, we have desire, anger, ignorance, pride, jealousy, and stinginess. Among those 6, the one that causes the rebirth in the hell, which is the worst situation that it's possible to be in samsara, to be born in hell, the afflictive emotion that causes that rebirth in hell, causes one to experience that realm of hell, is anger. So in this way, we can see why Shantideva has said that there's no evil equal to anger.
Jadi sebadi shedang di nebayan cheshore, digbayan cheshore, ani di pyongyang kazi soba gomtu bayana shedang langi gangsa dila soba gomtu bayan pyongyang cheshore, teni di soba digi ani sonam chok zogayaji na sonam gi chok zogayaji teni tabi yakshu chirez. Nishimba sonam gi chok zoyala teni ngadu cha zagayere, choba bugayere, teni chokpa chugayere. Dende chiyala sonam chok zoya yakshu jire tinga re de ina soba gomtu bayana shedang jige gansa ji yul jigla ngaranzo soba gomtu bayana di sonam chok zoya gi nani teni tabi yakshu ji re zigido. Chanji simba namji dende zigido.
So we think about anger. There's no evil equal to anger. This is really the greatest evil there is, and it also does the greatest harm. This afflictive emotion of anger does the greatest harm to us. But then, on the other hand, if we can practice patience and reduce our anger and eliminate the anger eventually, then this has a huge benefits for us. This is it's explained also that there's no greater benefit than this. And thinking about it in terms of the Dharma path, to practice patience is really the most effective way to gather the accumulations or the kind of the provisions that we need to be able to traverse the path. So if you consider the various practices that are taught to accumulate, to gather the accumulations or gather these necessary factors to travel the path, they say to do pujas and to prostrate, do prostrations, and so on, to make offerings and so on. All of these things will gather the accumulations. They will gather our necessities of the path, for the path. But if you can practice patience towards somebody who is harming you, and really eliminate your anger and practice patience properly towards somebody who is causing you harm, then it is said that this is actually the best way to gather the accumulations, to gather these necessities of path.
Ini tanda derang la Quran tsawa de la sungdoas gewi longje dubi gyase las da Jangju Semba namgi kansa wore gewi longje dugingi Jangju Semba jera gewa yakshu shi san gewa dubegi sagayagi da longje rawudi nangminda tab yakshu di tini shoba dires 즉 당보지도 이거 롱주 뒤비 야세 라세도 기위 롱주 수대양 아주 유반주 세기요 말이스 소남 소에기 롱주 약쇼디 탑 약쇼디 비니 소바레 세기요 그 소바디 롱주당 빼샤 아주 웰트 도샤 디나니 탑 약쇼디 소바레 세기요 상주 선바 남라 니디 웰트 아우디 디니 디 가서거래 소바디레 Suba diana ko juchumbur. Suba konde karze do ko chöje nang dani ya shiwala gi sona ji suba ta bo katu mesi ta sangye gi goge na ta yaksho di tab yaksho di longje da bo di ni suba cha de gi res di sungge res.
So this is mentioned here in our text. In the line that says, to the Bodhisattva who is eager to enjoy a wealth of virtue. So as the Bodhisattvas, the Bodhisattvas who are practicing the Mahayana, they need virtue. They need to practice virtue and to enjoy the kind of gaining virtue. So this is exactly the same thing as I've been explaining is mentioned in this line here, that the practice of patience is the best way for the Bodhisattva to gain this wealth of virtue, as is put here, to enjoy the wealth of virtue. And here it's just a metaphor that virtue is referred to as a well. What it really refers to is what I was explaining a minute ago about gathering the accumulations, gathering the necessities for the path. If a bodhisattva can practice patience, then they will gather this huge amount of accumulations or provisions for the path, and they will enjoy this kind of wealth of virtue, and so they will be rich in this way.
Chok jurbadi sunam chozoe gi nani sunam gi nani da chok jurbadi soba hindu soba de tene tanda kaps pawati ni sunam de shagius tanda gi longje de shagius soba de.
So this is when this practice of patience is described as the supreme of all methods to gather the accumulations. Specifically, in a more detail, how to think about it is that it relates to the accumulation of merit.
The sonam chozo ge nani ni tab chok de jurba am longje di chok de jurba di soba indu ta soba gombar jebala tini soba gomsa gi yul jugores kasi soba gomsagi yul mena ini soba ngazu longju jido longju di peju mewa cha dure longju dangi za chumbo longju jido ani soba gomsagi ta yul ju ko res.
So in order to practice this practice of patience, which is the supreme method for accumulating merit, we need an object to use the method on, so to speak. If we don't have this some object in order to practice patience with, we will not be able to gain this wealth of virtue, and we won't be able to use this method of patience.
Indu da soba gomba deyan dila nyoba cheginji kores nyoba cheginji ngazo la top sona dendi soba gombi gi sunam deyan sa thup gires denji sunam je longju jido den nyoba cheginji mena den ngazo sunam soba gomtu gomsa yul mena den sunam denji longju sa thup mares kazi de sa matuna deni nyoba cheginji mena den soba gomsa yul mena den sunam so mares.
So what we need in this case of the practice of patience is somebody that harms us, somebody or something also that may harm us. This is the object that we practice patience with. If we don't have this specific object that we need to practice patience, then we won't be able to practice patience. So we need somebody who is harming us or something that is harming us. As if we don't have anything that is harming us or anyone that is harming us, then there's nothing to be patient with. There's no way to practice patience. And if we don't have anything to practice patience, we don't have anything to practice patience with, any object to be patient with, then we won't be able to accumulate this huge amount of merit and this wealth of virtue that's mentioned here.
Teni di Indo teni Chanchu Semba dela neba shegi kasi Chanchu Semba dela ta ngarazu soba komgen di kansa dela neba chegenji yona neba chegenji yona ta khola neba chegendi rinji terdang dagurs dela tsikurang la doa niba dela nyuji tamji rinji terdang sung nyuji neba chegen midi tanji kansa jiyora dita rinji ngi terdang sung nye pe kawores nazola kansa dita nye tsangi jiyora neba chegendi pe nye par kawa indu ta pena ngazu mili rinji nye kawa sayaji doa di nashi ki kansa ngazola nye tsangi jiyora always bullying, always making problem jera. Nye kawo res, nye kawo induzani kasi nye songna, teni di rinjing ki terdawo res. It's like a jewelry, you know. It's like a jewel. Nye pada chik pada res. Chik nye pada la doa.
So for the Bodhisattva, or for us who is trying to practice the Bodhisattva path, we are the Bodhisattva is the object of the person that is doing harm or the thing that is doing harm. So for that Bodhisattva who needs somebody who needs an object to practice patience, and therefore they need somebody to harm them, for them the one who would harm them is really important. And it's said here in the verse that any potential source of harm is like a priceless treasure, because generally the people who harm us are not usually in our lives are not very common, very hard to find. And because they provide this opportunity to practice patience, they're extremely precious for the Bodhisattva. So it's mentioned here that they are like a priceless treasure, extremely rare and very precious, difficult to find. Just like as they talk about the precious human life, right, is very difficult to find. So in the same way, the source of harm or somebody who is harming the Bodhisattva is like a priceless treasure to that Bodhisattva.
이 리제터다가 니주 메바지 예 메바지 아주 니에 삼고레스 니 니에 소남 삭비 규 촉도 규바 소남 사이 규라다 아주 단지 차차 망보저라 디마임베 소남 사이게다 디 난긴 소남 사이게 나네든 촉도 규바지 니 지레 삼바지 당 댕고레스 디나시 니 디디 가르스나 소남 옹사 소남 사이고 용사지라 옹사지 ini di terka se ora terka se nga tu tetön sa ji do gam daw ka di no ba ji ge mi de la theng go res asonam sa di rag mara very rare very sometime only ra di in the generation ni theng go res rimbu ji tet nye song theng go res kale ka boro na tu mi ji chu ka bya na na pha ni sum nang ro ta ine jangju semba den zu gi de ji mi ni da gi ji ra so na konzo dinde samgirta sunam gu sae gi chod girbaji nye song te manye ba de nye chod girbaji nye song te ni ko pe gagire nye da gi mi ji chung so na ta ngarang zo ne chu ji ke jab da ha la nga do fa ni je ji sum je de te ni lung lang tung ji re tho pa chap ji re ma jab ji re ngarang zo na ro jang ji sem ba nam ji dinde chi gi res
So this being the case, when we meet somebody that harms us, or any kind of source of harm, we should think, oh, this is something that really don't really find very often. It's very hard to come across, and now I have finally found it. And this is something really precious that I have come across. This is how we should think when we meet a source of harm. And this is, we should think in this way and consider how this is really the cause for us to accumulate a vast amount of merit. It's this extremely difficult to find object that we can practice patience with and accumulate merit. And think about it like a priceless treasure, a really rare precious treasure that you may find, in like a mine, some kind of a jewel mine or a treasury. So this is how we, practicing as Bodhisattvas, should think about it, think about sources of harm. And so this is the way that the Bodhisattva thinks when he comes across a source of harm, is that it's something so rare and precious and they're very happy about it, and so they're trying to harm them. But otherwise, normally what we do is, if somebody's harming us, then we will want to harm them back even more. They will harm us, then we want to harm them back, and it will escalate in that way. We'll get into all kinds of problems, get into fights, and so on, get into all kinds of conflicts and fights. But this is not the way of the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva will consider these potential sources of harm as something really, something to be happy about and something precious that they've come across.
Dindu Mama Gevishiniji Korang Retula Shundo Komambo Jabs. Tini Kom Jabsani, Tini da Koranchibu Shugusara, Chibu Shundo, Tini Korangita, Nyumomba, Jeshung, Nyuru Cha, Macha Hamagoraya, Anasana Korala, King Yomare, King Metuta, and Nyumoma Chungus and Digmara. Tini Korang Kari number, Kari Cheresana, the Gevishin. 다 코나 nga shedang di nyung ru cha du cha min du ta ya ge che ta je dang ya ge che ni kona tiu ji mang gi jin yang bu ki do res kona nya bu ki gar zena kola da ni ye dog yo mara pen che ji gin ji na kola mi du ja ji gin yo mare mi sa ma gu shap shu ju re ni kola shedang lang sa min do yu min du shedang lang ya ge min du di mi du kona gar chen san tiu ji ki do res piu mang gi jin yang bu ki 아니 코란 초 초바수도디 딩고르데 샴 근데 초바수도 망기데 데라 샤셰스 그 초바수도 망기 데주 메라야 고 쇼바 상마 야투 마투 징도 이거인데 소바곰 그리슬라마 데나 소바 가제 곰 셰당 소바곰 투구도 투민두스네 소바곰 그리스 양고 초바수요네 티우디 템모제 칼라 야투 마투 징네 라마데 소바곰데 나 소바 뭐네 곰 투구 투민도 코랑코랑라 딱시진 덴데지비레스 강쭉 니코 셰당 랑긴 지킨 두거 나도 셰당 랑선에 트레두거스 셰당 랑나 오 I'm very happy 라게요 말은 트레두거스 야는 파 동거스 라마 강준이 셰당 랑긴 지키두거 냠불 디우지 노마는 로지두스
So when some practitioners, lamas would practice in the retreat in the mountains, they would go and meditate alone in the mountains. So there would be nobody there to harm them. So they would not have no object to practice patience with. So there's maybe difficult for them to check how much their anger had been reduced by means of the practice that they were doing. So what they would do is they would take a monkey, they would find a monkey and take this monkey with them and then set up a kind of puja in a temple or whatever place they were doing their puja, set up the mandala and all the offerings and so on. And they would sit the monkey down with them while they're doing the puja. And then because the monkey, just by its nature, it can't really sit still. It will always just mess around with everything. So when the Lama would be doing this puja with the monkey would immediately start to mess with all the mandala and the offerings and throw everything around and destroy all kinds of things. And so then the Lama would look at this situation and then try to practice patience and say, just remain happy and not get angry with this monkey. And then again, they would start to practice again and set the monkey up, and then the monkey would again ruin everything and really mess with the Lama's practice. And then the Lama again would just really kind of force himself to practice patience by using this object of patience. So this is how lamas and different people used to practice.
근데 단다 직당이 나라서 직대기 남로라 기랑조다 가시지 교가 게메 되니 가오 되니 남미 좀 more office colleagues, Dona ni page mangshwa di da patient soba kome khakbo di ni nang relationship la pe mangbo yong is thing of that tanda chana sambe ho ta yang du soba kome gi yulji kasi kansa ji ni sona ta renjin terdang chungge res renjin gi terdang terdaw do ta chana du su gi ni da ge na choga jeme de gao yin na de su yin na chana du gi di o nga mone nga la drink di pe nga nyamlin chiye sobo gome gi tini kinji chesong kirang nga tuji che kirang de nga la nye tsawa de nga pe gabu chung tiri kirang mena tiri nga sobo gome di sonam cho zowe gi na ni tab yakshu di nga kirang mena tini nga tiri gom tugu mare sonam gi cho zo tugu mare yin du tiri kirang nga la nye tsawa de ngone kadin che nga di nye tsawa de rinjing gi terta ma nye ba nye kalik hakbo nili rinpoche na nye kalik hakbo ridi te di nga nye son yangjar sani nani nga la dendera nga la chik tero chis nye taro chis nga pe kasa re sene o dende samata ngo res ikera nang le yore ta keme choka suki chuna ya di ngone changme gi chik ko shedang ge yul ma yinbe soba ge yul nang shin samlo tang rinji gi ter nang shin samlo tang na ini kerangzo기 기긴 낭나 요레 소보 검사 유 최고 말에 공발 도고 말에 리트리트 도고 말에 시당 기념부 제가 긴 제가 도고 말에 kerang 낭라 요레 오피스랑 요레 가수 tip지냐레 리트리트 도네 돌려 자기를 semba 고양 자기를 야 낭로는 도바제 길레 코나 율 다가랑 요레 렌징 때르나시 삼로 땅진 두지체 I'm so happy today I'm found precious to able to do patient layer of jera dina sin samlo tang na ngoni ya pures
So all of us, we have different relationships in our life, different people in our life, husbands and wives and girlfriends and boyfriends, and colleagues that we go to work with and so on. And these are generally the people that we will get into conflicts with the most. Is these people that we are close with, the closest with, right? So I think we all have people like this. And so what we need to do when they harm us is to think to ourselves, this is really such a great opportunity that I have, and this person is doing me such a great service by harming me, because something that is generally difficult to find, an object to practice patience with, they are doing this for me. They're providing this role for me, so I can practice patience and I can accumulate a huge amount of merit. And so we should think, thank you so much, really, when this type of person in our life harmed us, we should think, oh, I'm so glad you are doing this. Thank you. It's actually making me happy because I have the opportunity to practice patience. And we should think of them not as a object of anger, not as an object that we should be angry with and try to get angry at, but rather as an object to practice patience. Whenever somebody like this comes around and harms us, they're offering us the opportunity to accumulate a huge amount of merit, and in that way they're like a precious treasure, a priceless treasure, as is put here, because otherwise, if we were sitting alone in retreat, very relaxed and not much to worry about, nothing there really annoying us, nobody there really annoying us, So we can't really practice patience fully. But on the other hand, in our daily life, in our home or in our workplace and so on, in our daily life, we have right there with us these people who harm us and are allowing us to practice patience. They are really the kind of like a condition that we need to practice patience, and they are right there in our daily lives to be able to practice this practice of the Bodhisattva, this practice of patience. So we should always remember to be happy about that when somebody harms us, and to say, oh, thank you, and to really actually also say, I would like you to do this again and again to me. Tomorrow, please do it again. And then the next day, please harm me again. And say, I'm really happy about this.
And the opposite nowadays, opposite career is now. Tingzang nanzogi Chanju Semba Namji, please make me more problem, right? And the mundane life, please don't angry me again and again. Like it, what?
Like it is.
Kyona Shedala Moyo, Sani ni Shedala Moyo, and put Tungazuki Loba like it. Chanju Semba and Kuchi, Kiangal Tatung Shedala Ruji, Shedan Lang Ruji, Nalape, Yabot Goga, Yaboragidu, Sani Nani, not so to go. So I'm so dona is happy, right? Tabana Tamji in the Govan Tobe Yucha. Shedang Lana, Tini, the Nyawa drag Yucha to this. The delay you nigger candy Kansa Dilla Rally, can I Nyawa Dogi, Yana, Tabatamji in the Govan Topis. That the Mone Korangi, there Dawoji Lena, Tabatamji in the Govan drag Yucha. That the Ter Malay was a Kansa, the money Shedang Kesa Yulcha Shedang. So
these are two, there's two ways, one way of the world and one way of the Bodhisattvas, which are actually opposite, isn't it? The way of the world, we generally say, please don't make me angry. I don't want you to ever make me angry. Tomorrow, again, try not to make me angry, and so on. We will say that this is the way that worldly people operate, and this is really the opposite of the way that Bodhisattvas operate, or that we should try to operate also. We it's the opposite of that. We should say, please harm me again, and I want you to harm me again so I can practice patience. Because it's really something really valuable for us. It's very true. By practicing patience, we accumulate a huge amount of merit, and this is something that we should really be happy about as Dharma practitioners. It's something really good for us, good for our practice, and helping us toward practice the path. So this is why we should be actually happy and act in the opposite way that that we would act as worldly people, or people that are not practicing the Mahayana, not practicing Dharma. We should really consider them to be something really good for us, something we should be happy about, because they're allowing us to practice patience and accumulate this huge amount of merit. So if you think about this, somebody who would do us harm, depending on how we react to it, it could be either a source of a huge amount of merit and a source of our own awakening, our own attainment of the Buddhahood. If we practice patience with this harm doer, then it will allow us to accumulate merit and allow us to attain Buddhahood. But depending on how we react to it, we could also react to it in the opposite way and get angry. and then it would be the cause of us to suffer and to be born in a hell and so on, and go through really horrible experiences. So this object of patience, the one who harms us, it all depends on how we deal with it. If we are happy about it and practice patience, then it will really be a great benefit to us and allow us to attain awakening. And if, on the other hand, if we allow ourselves to get angry with this person, then it will cause a lot of suffering for us, and maybe even rebirth in hell and other lower realms and so on.
네, 시당 그 페나 강사지 만줄라 강사 님바 만줄라 시당 랑긴 강사지 요소나 다디 강사들라 단다디 찍체 니바들라 강사들라 코랑 시당 랑송나 강사디 만줄라 시당 랑지 강사들 롱 랑지 만줄라 님바 치지 단 나주 강사들라 시당 말랑 바체 yani gangsa de khariji ne long lang ba ina kora long lang ro ya shedang lang ro te ko shedang lang do ko nga do le nye za ba re nye za do ko khariji ne shedang lang ina sa da shin che ko shedang lang ge ko gangsa de lu de ni ma re lu de ni nga do long lang ma re lu ra kha na mi te ko kha pa pa de lab ra di lab de chik de chik ni tong ba de chik di ko long lang go mi do shedang lang go chik re 책들이 지금 믹스에 나를 시당 랑선다 딱지나 책들이 고 시당 말이 딱고 강사 코랑게 류디게 나를 시당 랑로데 스나 랑바데 스나 고 류니 게지자 고 같이 미시바이나 고 로디에 나둘라 시당 랑 민도야 로기 간지 민도 예 말도 딱 코랑 셈디 셈 가도 마통 다 메두 가와 도워스나 오 닝제 코랑 마리바 몽 코랑 라 다도 짐바 강사 다지 다진지라 코랑 라 셴바 슉충보지 되니지 맞아 담보 마릭바지 나랑 오 마싱이 될라 마릭제 나랑 오 마셰도 다진 슉충보자 다진디 일레용도 되니 고 셴발라 밀라 율라 하마고제 고 셰당랑 고 냠바치 랑 다진 랑 찌버 짐발라 되니 고 밀라 롱랑 버레스 디 나랑도가 하고를 추이치긴데 아제 이제 딱고 륜이 말해도 되니 책니 말해도 셈니 나 통마서 다 야지 마지하고 다지지나 고 마릭바들 두고도 세네들 인지게 버스 콜 강사들 가지 나졸라 셔나 랑기지나 뷰지나 딜 인제 고출네 되니 이제 나랑 뭐 마신 되니 마릭발레 때니 딱고 나졸라 셔나 버도 나랑 쉐라 죽제더니 이게 최시에진 땡에기 닝마지나 수기 닝제그래 스는 닝제 삼바 되니 삼바 데르지니고 강사들라 따버레스 자주 심기 찌스니 데르진 따버레스
So when we have somebody that's harming us like that, harming us in some kind of way that normally would make us angry, that would cause us to get angry. They may have some kind of bad habits or be this kind of bad person in some way, but when we think about how this person has come to try to make us angry, then we can go through and think about it very carefully. And go through and first of all, usually if somebody insults us or criticizes us, they're not doing this through their body. They're not using their body to make us angry. And it doesn't originate in their body in any case. the body is just a kind of matter. When somebody dies, then their corpse is just a dead physical matter. It can't really do anything, right? So it's not, on the one hand, it's not the physical aspect of the person ultimately that has made us angry, that is the source of that harm. And then we can then consider, well, maybe it's the speech, something that they said that made us angry. But then if we think about that really deeply, again, that's not really the source of the anger. All that their speech is just the sound. That's not really the real true source of the harm that has made us angry. And as far as their own mind in general, the mind of this person that's causing us harm, it is not really apparent to us. We can't really see that, and it's not really doing anything to us directly in any way. So then we can't really say it's their mind in general that's harming us. So then when we really get down to it, what the real source of the harm from the harm doer, the way that they're really causing us harm, is through their own ignorance. It's their own self-grasping. They were not able to recognize their own true nature, and thus have this ignorance, and or then they get this strong emotions, this kind of sense of pride, or a kind of self-righteousness of anger when somebody gets really angry. The self-righteousness and this self-cherishing, that is really what makes these people that harm us. That's really what makes them get angry and then harm us, which would then could make us angry. So what we should think is that if we look at it in this way, that the real source of the harm is not from the body, not really from the speech, not really from their mind, but rather it's from this ignorance that this person has. And this ignorance is what is trapping them in the samsara, and that's causing so many problems for this person, and it's causing problems for others, and so on. If we really look deeply and come to that understanding, then all we can say is, all we can really think is that, oh, how sad, how unfortunate for this person, and really have compassion for this person that is causing us harm, because they are kind of trapped in this ignorance of self-grasping and not understanding their own nature, understanding reality, and so on. And so this is how we should practice when somebody comes and harms us. Is just think, oh, this is very, I take so much, I really take pity on this person. It's very sad, and I really feel for them that they're in this state.
Dendo da tik sumba di de chir kun la shede me ba yi soba gomba jasa la ni yi sen sumba tik sumba dan shiba ni di kare resena gyumzen de chirna ne chula ne ba jigin ji chuna dela par phala de ni dana shi madawa chi ni soba di kansa gore gomsa gi soba gom gores soba gomsa gi yul na shi ta gores tanje rinjing ter na shi ta gores chidre dana shi madawa chi teni su da su la na ba jang mi jo na dila da madawa chi dila teni chi soba gomsa gi yul soba gom gores soba yapo gom gores shedang mebi gonne da yang shedang yun soba ko uzu gya mer kupo uzu gya mer uzu gya dan soba gom ni khakar da uzu gya forcing, some like the pugu ji study chi na na ge gen ro kiran gi du na kala kamala dung kala kamala dung na this is no soba buku di soba mare ko force re there is no patient. Patient means interest, must have interest. Soba gomdu ta korang phajo kangsa di thungna interest sang soba sim ding understanding di koni tini soba gom gores oh lama ki lab ki tu pecha na lab ki tu rang soba gomdu me no interest but I must do because pecha says lama says and narko.
So then getting into the next lines in the text, in the Tibetan, these are the third and fourth line, but in the English, this first and second line. The practice of the Bodhisattvas is to cultivate patience free from any trace of animosity towards anyone at all. So what this means is that we have to be free from any trace of animosity, means that we don't view this person that is harming us as being kind of an opponent or an enemy, somebody that we should be angry with, but we should view them as an object of patience, somebody that we can practice patience with. But the thing is that we should not try to force ourselves to practice patience. When somebody like this comes around that's doing us harm, we should view them as an object of patience and not as an object of anger, not just because, oh, it says this in the text and the teacher says this, so I have to, the guru says this, so I have to practice in this way, even though I don't really, feel it. We have to really have this really kind of inspiration and really deep understanding and a desire to practice patience, because we understand how beneficial it is and so on. So we shouldn't force ourselves, like if somebody's teaching a child the alphabet or something, they may say, what is the letter A? And then they say it wrong, and then we beat them, and then say, you said it wrong, say the letter A, and they try to say it. This is like trying to force the child. And we shouldn't try to force ourselves in that way, but rather from understanding and the real true desire and inspiration to view the harm doers not as a enemy or as an opponent, but as a practice, as a object of patience. So this is what is referred to here with free from any trace of animosity. So you're not viewing this person with any animosity.
Digi pension, digi intention ni soba gombaina, ni kanse sonam so doegi ni tap never cover the never res rang hako res ni cheba na de janju semba gasilale janju sembe nanji de lale chagi res ni no marang zo ya kazi gom tu baina ni ngone ji rang la pen res.
So if we practice patience in this way, first having understanding of the benefits and the really amazing qualities of patience, that this is something, this object of patience that we have found, this harm doer, is something so difficult to find, but now I finally found it, and so I'm able to practice patience with these and gain these great qualities and these great benefits for myself and for others as well, and for all interested in me as well. If we can think in this way, then this is the practice of the Bodhisattvas. This is really really true, great practice of the Bodhisattvas.
The Petroji Shana, Sweba di Satabores, Marazo Jigdingi Sachitoa, Sweba said, Sweba come to Genjina, Sweba Gomgen Kansa Yabo, come to Genjina, Satabur, Sasedi, Sagi Gangla, Teni Ri Che Jung, Teni Yabo Dubu, Kangbayura, Teni Charma, Teni Kang Chu, the Karina Sadi Gangla, Detuguera, Sagi Dentugueres, Sagi Chok Tugu, Chogeres, Dinashi. Soba gomgen gansa ji yakbo ji na ko sato des samangsin ko kari sha na ko choge ko tugen pe ji dire pe niba de ne pe na gara doa di gara sena dando so dungi gol sena konjo gi do yung do gang dungura cha tang bangla cha dungure ayang dungure ne sang dungirwa ina do inare hindi ko 괜찮지 말 쫙 잡으셔기로 하신 게 너 골dsmith 쫙 잡아 가자시면 너 nothing happens he can able to patient 도 나신 레스 데 나신 고레스 이도 소바 코메 베타 오지 베제는 나 두지
So there's a couple analogies for what the practice of patience is like. On the one hand, patience is said to be like the earth. In the same way that there's all kinds of things are supported by the earth. There's different houses and plants, and people walking around on the earth, and the different houses, plants, trees, mountains, and so on. All of these, so many things are supported by the earth, right? So in the same way, if you can really practice patience well and really master this practice, then that practitioner of patience will be like the earth. He will be able to support anything, and really be, really just be able to support anything at all, just like the earth is. And be able to accommodate, right? To be able to accommodate anything. And the second analogy here is that somebody who really is able to practice patience well and master the practice of patience, they will be like the stone that is used by blacksmiths. So this stone is used by blacksmiths as the kind of support for whatever they are trying to create out of the metal. So they will have some piece of this hot metal on top of the stone, and they will be shaping it with their different tools, and whether the metal is copper or iron or whatever it happens to be, whatever it happens to be, and whatever they do, however they try to shape this piece of metal, the stone underneath it will always be able to support that and will not be damaged or not have any problem with it. So even though this is like a red hot metal and the person's really banging down on it, then this stone will be able to withstand it and be fine. This is the other analogy.
Tsering choose the choose chuba chasado, that's Sobala Shashanaba, Tingatrin Sundu Dogo Tenston, Suba the Gage and Buredu.
Oh, that's
into that in some Chinese.
Also, so now the time is maybe finished. And I thought maybe I would get to the explanation of diligence today, but I thought that this practice of patience is really important, so I spent a lot of time on it today.
Ini charang nanglo la su ki khase lung lang ba ina chedang lang ba ina ani di ngarang ge gi tengores ngara sobo komsa ge yuli teni tuji che zene jarang da tobo pese tobo nang ge family la shedang lang mare lang ma himbe gi chiro gi mi ji stranger ji na teni ngone shedang ma mulang kristi indu di tuk song ba ina charang gasu che di ni di shedang lang ge gangsa de la kirangi treasurer nashi da kudus to renjin nashi ra pe gechim bu ta kudus niba de la kirango ge harisam kudus na sunam gi chok longju gi nang sunam chok zo gi tab yaksho di na ni son sam kudus di ni sam tang kudus.
So now when you guys are going around in your everyday life, whether it's in your family or outside your family, in the out in the world, maybe it's not as likely that among our friends and people we hang around with that we will get angry. Maybe it's easier to find somebody outside in the world, but whatever the case may be, whoever makes you angry, please try to practice patience in the way that I have described. And think when this person tries to harm you, think, oh, you are my teacher, thank you so much. And really cherish that person without getting angry at them. And so there's two main ways that you should think when somebody does you harm. You should think on the one hand, this person that is doing me harm is really like a rare and a precious treasure, something that is so difficult to find, and I have found them. They have come to me as this kind of precious treasure. And then so think in that way on the one hand, and on the other hand, the second way that you should think to practice patience is that this person that is harming me is giving me such a precious opportunity to accumulate a huge amount of merit and to help my Bodhisattva practice, to help my practice of the Mahayana, and think, oh, this person is so really somebody that I should really value as being really important, and really be glad that they're doing this because they're allowing me to accumulate this huge amount of merit, and they're allowing me to get better and to progress in my practice of the Mahayana.
And I forget one thing. The Parjin Trugi Nangni, Jimba Dang Soba Nile Injimiji Yulgores, Shimba Shila Yulgo Mares, the into Soba Nyamling Komi Chigena, Yul Injimiji Gores, Yul Dita in Kerala Nyambarsi in the meeting, Yul Chadera.
So I forgot to say one thing about these 6 paramitas. Among the 6 paramitas, the 2 of the paramita of generosity and the paramita, the perfection of patience, those 2, patience and generosity, they require an object for us to practice with. You need somebody to give to, and you're practicing generosity, and you need somebody to practice patience with when you're practicing patience. So for us here, the object of patience is the person that harms us, but for the other 4 perfections or paramitas, you don't need an object like that.
Yes, the audience. Today's session, I would like to stop.
Yeah, sure.
Any, you have any questions you can ask?
Okay, somebody asked one question. In the case of actual bodily harm from someone, should one defend oneself?
Maybe run.
You can agree. Can't say.
Di ngoni ta jangju semba dabu jigi ina ta ngarang zo le thangbo gangsa ra tos khapo yures wa ina ngoni jangju semba dabu jigi ina thangbo damja ji shuba ina teni korang tuji che kirang dere ngala damja shu zon ani nga kirang ta ilaim ba rinchin ter tang sum se du damja shu du sani ngala ni shu ro chi nani ngala sum shu ro chi lagi res ta ngarang zo ke bo phalba re ani le thangbo indu thangbo damja ji gyab indu 다 약쇼지 라치랑도 가리 여르스나 삼로지 당 남산 리액 마치버지 삼로지 당 가르진 꾸말에 슈바이나 남산 리액 마치버지 오 이마치 구 남산고로 리액 지송나 지랑 시당다 파 율디 지랑 펜토고 말레스 더도 네캬도 그레스 딱고 가르진 슈유메 카고고라 당징에 슈바나지 고랑 마리바 몽바기 출송네 슈바이나 야나 나랑게 nenri시니 거의 슈송바이나 거이나르 모이노 수이너라 당보 삼로지 당스나 나서 제보 팔바라 잔주심바 마라 잔주심바이나 차디 슈사나 말라꾸지 니시로지 산이가서 보고메기 아니 마라라 단징의 슈바나신데 이제 때당 송선함 사에게 아니 말라 지게 주 하나 탑 지말라 드린 락송 아선음 소조에게 겐제 중송스네 가기로 와 다 나랑 들어가면 가고 말이나 삼로지 땅스 남상 란 지나양 야부레 다 란 도나양 그래서 김제 가야 하마고 란 지잖아요 괜찮고 싶어
Register.
란 김제 매버 지나 란 just run is like you are skipping but more important you have to accept through understanding if somebody slap you
The
bodily harms na da tung Kimse members na da korangi there's some teacher says and I should run it's like a
run
I think this is third or maybe run maybe what do maybe run but run also good but when you go back to run and you go back to home maybe you may angry this person maybe fall down or this person is like a leg break like you keep thinking bad things
so Tugula saying that when we if we are really like an excellent Bodhisattva practitioner, like a true Bodhisattva, then even if somebody slaps us in the face, then we will just be happy and say, oh, that this is like a really precious treasure that I have found. It's allowing me to practice patience. It's like such a great opportunity this person is giving me. And then that the Bodhisattva would then think, yeah, tomorrow please slap me twice again. Slap me even more tomorrow. They would think in this way. But for us as the beginner practitioners, maybe it's difficult for us to do that. So what we have to do is when somebody may slap us or give us bodily harm in some other kind of way, then we should just not react immediately, but just think about it. think about why this person may have done this. Is it some misunderstanding that they have, or maybe I made a mistake and they're angry at me for some reason? And think carefully about why they did it. And then we can begin to practice patience and reduce our anger in that way. But if we just run, then it may not be the best, because when we run away, if we only have running away as a solution, then we will still maybe angry at this person if we don't really think about it in this way.
这个可是他们在学吧呢，你这个，你cutting chairs 是吧？ที่nga the jumbling khawa tasala then you do device say device tamja shugage mango je say device I was searching to somebody to slap but I couldn't find anye masons and drink kerang tu ningal tamja shusons pe nga gasons ta kharsna danji soba komse use kora use nga danji lama digi piu kiu na shin do ko medu da injimiji ra kora ya 가지 코 라스나 무릎 라바 나신 감자 중에 지라나 콜로 무릎 더 가서 남 쳐도구라 아니 까딘체 제만 다와레라 나 꾸지 차레레 지슈로시.
So as practitioners of the Mahayana and trying to practice these the Bodhisattva path, then as we are trying to practice patience, we would actually have to find an object to practice patience with. We would have to actually search around a lot to find somebody that would harm us and make us angry. But when somebody just comes to us without us searching them out and starts to harm us, then they're kind of coming to us as a kind of a treasure, something very hard to find. Yeah. And allowing us to accumulate all this merit and so on. And it's just like the Lama using the monkey. They had to go out of their way to find the monkey and practice with this monkey, and to set up the situation where they could practice patience. It's not something that's just happens naturally. So when someone comes to us and harms us, it's really actually like they're coming to us and helping us with our practice and giving us actually the siddhi. It's actually like somebody coming to us and giving us the siddhi, or accomplishment of the practice, because they're allowing us to improve and to traverse down the path. So this is how we should consider these harm doers as being offering us the siddhis, actually.
Let's say if I go around everywhere, everybody respects like a lama, then everybody has a kind of value me. But inside the patient, how much my patient is genuine or not, I must have somebody to disturb me, or somebody to say bad to me, or somebody harm me. Then I will know my patient is how good. Otherwise, I don't know. That's why I have to search whole world. I go around. I couldn't find somebody harm me. Therefore, someone harms me, that means I should be happy, because I can able to practice the patience. And when I patient, definitely I can accumulate huge amount of merits. That merit is the one is cause to enlightenment. Bring me to enlightenment or bring me to Bodhisattva, the land. Therefore, we should be happy. But sometimes I know very difficult, but you don't react quickly. Try to think, and slowly you can develop that patience.
I'm not sure if there's any more questions, or I can't
No
see
more.
any more questions.
And also this is run away, maybe run away. I think don't run away. I know so many of you, whenever you have a difficult in the office, difficult in society, somebody disturb you, somebody always noisy to you, you always run away to temple or retreat, a quiet place. It's wrong. And you try to do wherever there is a quiet or a very pujas or meditation, the how to call the environment. You try to run away that kind of environment. That kind of environment, nobody disturb you. Definitely is quiet. But we need is more harm and noisy place. That is actually your teacher is already there. Why you have to go to so far to run? Whenever you run, retreat, come back home, same thing. Maybe more because why your expectation is so much. That's why you come home. Maybe somebody disturb you, you get angry more because you will compare. Oh, I went to retreat so quiet. Now come here more disturbing. Then very difficult to accept this samsara. Therefore, wherever you are, whoever disturb you, you are retreat and your teacher and your accumulation merit is already within in the spot you can apply, no need to go somewhere. Therefore you have so many benefits within your wherever you are. Therefore you please practice, try to understand and maybe read more and you investigate more, then you will see or you will find.
Somebody.
Okay, now no question. Then I will do dedication. Zunamde tamje zibani tamne nyebe dana panje ne kekana je bala chupa ye side solen rowan rowa ro hanju senjo rembo she maje panam ge ke ba nyamba me ba yen gome gondo de war ro tamba jigden kamju jamba dan temba ni shi do so then ban lo dar jin ge ba ye temba yu ne de da